we had a nice lunch and, nice pudding at the end of it. And as we say, the proof of the pudding is in eating. So when you ask why Saint-Gobain, why Tamil Nadu, I think I would just show only 2 slides for you, just to make the point. I think today almost half of Saint-Gobain's investments in India is in the state of Tamil Nadu. I think that's the first testimony for why this state should be chosen by anybody if they are coming to India to invest, or anyone within India is investing. Second, I think the Sriperumbudur site, which is the largest one for us in India, happens to be the largest in the world for Saint-Gobain. So Saint-Gobain is a 44 billion euro turnover company with 67, 70 countries presence. Single largest investment in the world as a single site. I think that's testimony to the state and what the state is offering. So I don't need to say anything more on why Tamil Nadu on that. But I think what is important is not today. I think what has brought us till today is not going to take us further, in the next 10 years. So if you were to fast forward to 2030 and ask the same question, why Tamil Nadu, I think that is what I would largely touch upon in my presentation. So this was a question that we asked within the CEO forum of CIA Tamil Nadu, which I was chairing last year and I continue to be chairing this year also. So I think that is something that we discussed in that, and we said, okay, why not look at how to make Tamil Nadu, what are the things that different stakeholders have to do to make Tamil Nadu an industrial ecosystem benchmark in the world. We had come out with a nice report, which was released by the Additional Chief Secretary, Mr. Krishnan, a few weeks back. Usually, and therefore, what is the vision that we set? We said, okay, by 2030, we truly have to be the Tamil Nadu, but the Tamil has a different meaning here. It has to be really. So, Tamil has a different meaning. It is really talented, attractive, you can say aspirational, modern, innovative, and limitless Nadu. So that's really the vision that we set, that we should have by 2030. Now, it's nice to have a vision, nice to have a slogan, but you can't just achieve only with the slogan. You have got to do something more than that. So we looked at 9 different dimensions on which probably as a state and the different stakeholders would need to work on. Starting with the leadership, many things on the infrastructure, on the labor, skills, knowledge, many aspects on that. The most important thing that we came out was, normally for the industry, the approach is make a very long laundry list for the government to do. We said, no, I think here it is not so much for the government. Government also has to do something, but a lot has to be done by people outside the government. It could be industry, it could be industry bodies, it could be academia, it could be different stakeholders who would need to work on that. And more importantly, CEO forum is a bunch of MBAs, and normally when MBAs get together, they immediately make a 2x2 matrix and try to put everything into somewhere or the other. So which is what we also did. We looked at what can be eliminated. There is a lot of conservativeness in terms of the way we look at investments, growth, and things like that. So how do we eliminate that? Can we really erase the women employment, empowerment? And I think the next session is probably going to talk about that, which is very important if you really want to become that 1 trillion economy and be on a fast track in terms of growth. Can we reduce some of the compliances and regulatory things? And on that, I want to compliment the government of Tamil Nadu. The single window system that you have is a fantastic example of how you really reduced the compliance or the regulatory requirements. The validity of certain approvals, like from the TNPCB, have been enhanced. Earlier you used to get for 1 year, now it's 5 years, you can get for 10 years. So many of those things have already happened from the state. The other is really, can we also create really a world-class infrastructure? Because if we really want to leapfrog as an industrial powerhouse, industrial ecosystem, as a benchmark by 2030, we also need a fantastic infrastructure by 2030. Therefore, we also set out what should be the SMART goals, specific goals that, in each of these things that we need to achieve. I think this is available in the public domain now. I think we have nicely listed that. But again, goals will work only if there are flagship programs. What really works, especially when you want to bring in multiple stakeholders. and not just the government, industries bodies like CII, it could be institutions like IIT. There are many other premier engineering colleges in the state, MSMEs. You bring everybody together. You need some flagship programs to get everybody in the same platform and to move on. So we have identified several flagship programs. Some of them, for example, a leadership is something that from CII and CII CEO Forum, we would take the lead to really make it work. I think a lot is happening in different industries on diversity. I was just chatting with somebody during the lunchtime. People are talking about how to increase that. I mean, that's a challenge that I too have in our organization, especially in manufacturing. How do we enhance the diversity? A lot of things have to be done on the infrastructure. So happy to see in this morning in the newspaper, there are some very interesting infrastructure projects coming up in the state, and a lot to be done from, in terms of the technology. I think this is the right place to really talk about it. I think this place has really created one of the world-class facilities. How do we really leverage that? MSMEs would require a lot of support. One from the government, second from the larger industries in the state. Very importantly, from the government side is really to facilitate creating very good energy infrastructure in the state. If we really want to grow manufacturing and grow industries in the state, I think that is something which is very, very essential. I know that steps are being taken, but we would need to accelerate on that part. So that's broadly that we had come out with. I know it's a vision document, good as Mr. Krishnan at the time of release, he said, it's like a CEO's letter on the to-do list of what all one should be doing, which is what he said. I think it's like that, but I think if all of us work together constantly, year after year, many of these can be achieved. And I have no doubt when we, in 2030, when Mr. SV sir will organize another conference like this on why Tamil Nadu, I think this will be the slide that will be there. Thank you.